Is there a prompt? There are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
What's going on, 7-footers gang? You know what it is. It's Jarod and Jenna here, back, and it is December, baby. You know what that means, Jarod. Usually it means nothing, but tell us what it means.
It means the NBA's back, which is wild, right? Like, again, we've said it a million times, but the shortest offseason in the history of NBA sports. And we're already back, right? December 22nd is when everything tips off, and that is in a little over 2 weeks from now.
So exciting, guys. And this episode is strictly all about things free agency, the surprises, the trades, the extensions, the re-ups, the new faces in different places. Can't even take credit for it because Jarod made it up. And we have it all covered. Now, we got to start with NBA Media Week. Unfortunately, we weren't there. Jarod wasn't cooking it up in the Brooklyn Nets locker room per usual.
No, but we had to do it via Zoom. So we were on these Zoom calls talking to these players and these, which is such an, you're on Zoom calls for work. Like I'm sure everybody else is. These media week conferences on Zoom calls it's like hilarious. These guys get these chairs and like the PR staff setting up the laptop for them and adjusting the cameras. It's like, oh God.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. I mean, I see some of the outtakes and some of the guys too online, like, Michael with the Nets too that we watch online.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's so crazy. We're just doing it from our houses. Yeah. How were the guys doing? How was Media Week for you? What would you say was different for the people out there who don't know?
The difference, of course, is that you don't get to see everybody, right? So that to me is the big thing because, it's Media Week is it's so interesting, right? I mean, you parachute in, you go to you go every team, you cover Brooklyn, whatever, and you're there, and it's one day, right? So you get Sean, your GM, your head coach, and you get a variety of star players coming up to the podium doing their thing, right? And then you may get some individual breaking one-off sessions or smaller sessions with some of the guys, right? That's generally how it goes. But because of COVID and everything else, it's so different now, right? You have Media Week it literally is a full week, right? You have, GM, head coach, one day, couple star players the next day. And it kind of stretches out. Now, the beauty of this is normally during normal times, you'd fly into wherever or you stay in wherever your home market is, and that's the team you cover. Well, now, because we're all at home doing COVID, I can pop in and out to a bunch of different media weeks. I can do Brooklyn, I can do Denver, I can do Clippers, right? You just, request your access with your PR folks that you know, and you make it happen. So I think that's been the cool part about it is that you can see different teams media week. But the not sad, but the different part is that you don't see your colleagues face to face. Yeah, you chat a little bit on Zoom and while you're waiting for players, because that hasn't changed. You still have to wait for the guys to come to the podiums. You're having your conversations in the group chat with everybody talking about all kinds of random stuff. So that part's been fun.
Right. Before we dive into your team, the Nets, really quick question too for the casual fan or anybody really listening. How was the mood, I guess, with the guys? I mean, again, let's not ignore that these are the times that we're living in. COVID, Black Lives Matter, that is very much alive at this point. So, tell me what the vibe was or how it kind of felt.
Great question. It's the guys are like, it's a little new for them, right? I mean, because everything's different. Like normally training camp would start, everybody would come in together, you'd start your workouts, and for Brooklyn in particular and for a lot of other teams, it's been individual workouts for the guys. They haven't started their team stuff. Many teams, we're recording this on a Sunday, many teams have just begun their team workouts between yesterday and today, right? But for last week, it was individual one-on-one workouts. So the player would come into the facility during his slotted time, and he wasn't there with anybody else. I mean, yes, other staffers, but none of his other teammates would be on the court with him doing stuff because of COVID. So that part was interesting. And then the other part too is that, as you mentioned, with the unrest still going on with COVID and everything, players are still kind of, it's like, okay, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit uncharted territories. And as we know, athletes are creatures of habit, right? They like doing what they're used to doing. So this is a little strange, but as they start to get back with chatting with the media and doing different things like that, they are, I don't want to say having a new appreciation for it. They're adapting. And that's one of the things that these athletes are. They're highly adaptable. As much as they love their routines and familiar sort of, okay, Mondays we do this, Tuesdays we do that, they are very adaptable and they're managing well. You know, something was interesting. You mentioned Brooklyn, the team that I cover. So during Kevin Durant's media availability, someone asked him, you know, Kevin, what, you know, did you find a new appreciation for the game while you were out rehabbing your Achilles and all that? And, you know, KD's someone who loves basketball to his core. So he was like, no, I didn't find any new appreciation for it. He was like, honestly, I enjoyed some me time, some time for myself, and not having to see and talk to y'all all the time. Which, of course, that was hilarious.
Oh, especially too with everyone who, you know, loves to give Katie the business, especially reporters and things like that. So Katie always has something good to say.
Oh yeah, he's always gonna have some little quick quib, or, you know, because again, like, you know, media is what it is, and we know that he, you know, contentious isn't the right word, but I would say he has a different relationship with the media than a traditional star does, right? Maybe we call it a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, I would definitely ride that teetering line right there. Well, speaking of that as well, because love-hate relationships roll within the Nets, I would say. We have to talk about Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, your man's Kyrie Irving.
I know. Before we were recording this, Jarod was like, yo, we got to really, I thought he was yelling at me. He was like, yo, we got to talk about something. I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay. Like, what we about to get into here? Like, what I do wrong? Like, did I miss something? Because, you know, I'm notorious for doing something wrong. And Jarod's like, yeah, we got to talk about your man, Kyrie. And at first, I didn't know if he was talking about my man's in real life who doesn't exist. So that got me confused. So I had to know it was something fake. But the realness of it all is that Kyrie Irving, some would argue, pulled a Kyrie Irving at Media Week, and he did not address the media. He said that he was going to put out a statement that would not be conveyed in any different way, that would not be misconstrued. Hence, you know, Kyrie's past things about the world is flat and then everything he didn't want to coach for the Nets and all the past and recent drama. So he puts out a statement. Malika Andrews of ESPN comes out with it. And he says, you know, my goal this season is to let my work on and off the court speak for itself. So basically that foreshadows to me real quick that he's not going to be talking to the media a lot this season. Who knows? That's just my opinion. The statement, it was short, but to the point. It says, you know, quote, COVID-19 has impacted us in many ways. I pray for the health and safety of the communities. And then he goes on to say he is committed to showing up to work every day, ready to have fun, compete, perform, and win championships alongside my teammates and colleagues in the Nets organization. My goal is to let my work speak for itself, as I said. And then he just ended it with, life hit differently this year. It requires me to move differently. So this is the beginning of that change. So we do know that Kyrie Irving, Jarod, has given an immense amount of money to the WNBA on top of feeding America and everything else he's done in being a leader off the court. And that speaks for itself as well. So, I mean, although there isn't a lot to unpack with this statement, I think there is, because it, like I said before, I think it foreshadows that he's not going to be talking to us, the media, a lot this season. And I think this was his kind of one statement that's like, you'll see me advocating, you'll see me donating, you'll see me doing what I promised I would do. Hence, he says the change. But I think this is it for really Kyrie Irving kind of getting candid. Really, I think he's just going to go play the game and keep to himself.
It's so interesting, Jenna. And even though, as you just said, and you put it so well, that the Kyrie statement was short, but there is so much to unpack there, even though it wasn't said a lot. And look, this is multi-layered, and it isn't just a one way to look at this. Part of the media's job, like our job as media people who cover sports, entertainment, what have you, is to relay to the fans and the people who consume this product being NBA basketball, what is actually going on, right? With their team, with the players they care about, what is going on behind the scenes, vis-a-vis as much access as we are given. And obviously there's tiers in this, right? People like Woj and Shams and super insiders have a certain level of access, right? Then Brian Windhorst, et cetera, and then it moves down, and whatever. But regardless, there is, that is our job as media. And there is frustration often a lot of times on the part of athletes with what they say and how, in fact, it is construed by the media and then how it's interpreted by fans. And what compounds it and makes it even more challenging is the social media age, right? And the way and how in which we live now. And again, everyone knows this, but it bears repeating. In the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, all these things did not exist, right? If you wanted to find out about your team and what was going on, you would read your local paper and the beat writer who covered your team. If your team was of prominence, they might get a national column here and there, or you turn on ESPN, right? Because again, even back then, there wasn't 75 million sports channels for you to go look and find information, right? There's only so many places to find the information about your team and about the players you care about. Well, that's not how it is now. There's literally a billion things where you can find information about your team and players that you care about. And what happens is something gets reported or put out, and then the news aggregation cycle starts, right? Everyone picks it up, and then it spreads like wildfire, right? Comment said at 11 o'clock. By 11:01, 85 billion people have it. And not only that,
That's it.
85 billion people have it and are commenting about it, right? So it's, again, back then, there was no forum for you when you read an article about your team in an actual physical newspaper. Well, where are you going to talk about it where everyone can see it? Nowhere. You're talking about it with your friends, at your job or at school or whatever, but the athlete doesn't hear that because he's not there. Now they hear everything, right? Okay. Now, that's part and parcel with the game, right? You know me, Jenna. We are very pro-athlete on this pod. But
Yes.
the media part of it, that's what the money's for, right? Like, and again, you know me. I am not someone who says, oh, these athletes make a whole lot of money. No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the money is for the parts of the job that you don't particularly like to do, which is the media. And I understand that because, yes, with what I just said about social and how everything gets put out there, it's annoying because that's not really quite how I meant that. And now it turns into, and because we have 24-hour stations like ESPN, Fox Sports, Bleacher Report, whatever, we have to fill that with content. So we're going to talk about it all day long. Yes, that is annoying as fuck. I get it. Like, which is why, right? Like, if I was someone who had to be talked about 24 hours a day, I would hate that shit. It's like, enough already.
Frustrating.
Now, on the other hand, Kyrie, part of this is on you, my dude. When you come out and start saying shit like the earth is flat, my dude, like, look, like, you're going to get people who are like, all right, here's someone who talks like this, and it's like, what? So you're going to get clowned a bit, right? So, I mean, and again, I'm kind of pushing it to the extreme. Like, he didn't come out and say the earth is flat. That's not what he said, right? His point was we should question things sometimes. And it's like, yeah, some things, Kyrie, we should question. The roundness of the earth? No, that isn't something we should question, right? No, that one has been proven, right? Fact. No need to question that piece. But I get the larger point. However, he did not articulate it in a manner that made that clear. Well, now you're the goofy flat earth guy, right? And now every time you post something on your Instagram or whatever, it's got a third eye and a triangle and like, right? And so everybody's like, oh, here we go. Kyrie's a conspiracy theory nut, right? He posted a picture about Dr. Sebi, who allegedly had a cure for HIV. It's like, dude, like, you are not helping here, right?
No.
This doesn't help your overall cause. And the other piece with Kyrie is, he is a superstar on a team, right? So you have obligations. And by the way, the NBA mandates that players make themselves available at games and practices to talk to media. This is part of the requirement of your job. The other piece about this as well is that you as leader guy, you're the executive vice president of the NBPA, which also means you are a visible player in this league from a fighting for players' rights, etc. So you have to speak to the media, right? You mentioned he's giving all the food he did, the food he donated through Feed for America. Media should be able to ask you questions about that. Well, we can't now because you said you're not talking to the media, right? And to be clear, we don't know if he's going to do this all season. All he said was he's going to let his play do the talking for him. We could speculate. The challenge comes, Jenna, is that let's say the Nets go into a little funk and they drop 3 out of 5 games, and players like Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen and Spencer Dinwiddie got to answer questions about Kyrie, and he's not there. How long you think his team is going to be cool with that? Like, why we got to answer questions?
That's a great point too, because okay, say, post-game presser, you're not talking to media. Okay, sounds good. However, Spencer Dinwiddie, Kevin Durant, XYZ players are talking to the media. They're asked about you, and they say something that you don't like. Instant team chemistry. Yep, let's throw a wrench in that, things like that. But really quick to your point and what we were saying before, how we didn't know exactly what Kyrie's plan was for the season. I guess SNY's Ian Begley ended up getting a statement out of Kyrie's publicist, Ashley Blackwood, and she said, quote, "Doesn't mean he won't do traditional media. He has every intent on building a mutual, respectful relationship with the media. This is his first attempt to communicate directly/effectively with people who cover him the most," end quote. Okay, I get that 100%, but still, that does not mean we know directly if he's going to be speaking consistently on a night in and night out basis after the game. And clearly it says, he has every intent in building a mutually respectful relationship with the media. So right now he probably doesn't feel that way, is my no takeaway from that. He doesn't feel respected by the media, which is fine, but are we doing this for all media now? What about your beat outlets that literally blood, sweat, and tears cover you for these small Nets outlets and things like that? I mean, I don't know. This is a hard one. It's a major gray area in some spaces because, again, you made a great point. He's on the board of the NBPA, vice president. I mean, you're supposed to be one of the leaders of this team. Being a leader is very different for some people, I guess. I don't know. Being a leader to me is being a LeBron James, you can pick out a clear leader on a team, a Jimmy Butler, but I don't know. I don't know.
It is, no, you're dead on with it, Jenna. And again, I want to be clear about this. Like, Kyrie's entitled to feel as though he is often misrepresented by the media because, in fact, sometimes in the past, he has been. That is fair. He has every right to feel that way. Again, the way he's going about doing it, my guy, you got to think about this clearly. Okay, I feel like when I say things, you guys don't cover it correctly. You say it not how I intend it. All right, Kyrie, what do you exactly mean when you said da, right? Like, and this is the thing. And here is the other piece about this. Kyrie likes to purport himself as someone beyond basketball and someone who is highly woke and highly intelligent. I'm not saying he's none of those things. But what I am saying is if that's how you want to present yourself, then you have to be clear when you are speaking and what it is you are speaking about. Because that's what you've done, right? You've made it clear that I think about things on a different level. And guess what? You are more than entitled to do that. You're a human being. Everyone is entitled to do that. However, you need to be clear about your points, what you're saying. And now, because you are a public figure, the media, our job is to then follow up and ask you questions about those things that you put out there in the public spotlight. Look, the other alternative is, and I get it because I got into a back and forth with fans about this on Twitter, he can just be boring. Just go to the podium and say nothing like so many superstars do. And guess what? Right. No harm, no foul. I get it. That's not how he wants to be. He wants to show you I'm more than that. Okay, well, if you want to open that door and show that you are more than that, you have to take everything that comes along with it, right? Like, that's how that goes.
Right, and it's a thing, too, with covering, like, celebrities and stuff. I mean, they say they want to be candid and they want to open up and things like that. And again, they are entitled to their privacy as well. However, there does come a line where people do start to get offended and they're like, okay, what are you picking and choosing to be candid about? So I'm not allowed to ask you about this thing, but you're putting it online. Like, where is the line? You know what I mean? It's not always the media. Don't get me wrong. A lot of times it is. And there is a line that you should not cross.
100%.
And we know that. But a lot of other people don't, or they do, and they just don't abide by the unwritten rules of courtesy and respectfulness and ethical journalism.
But you know, Jenna, look, this is our business is a click-driven business. That's like, right? What do your editors say to you when you post something? That didn't get right. It didn't get enough, whatever. It's not, that's what they look at.
We're not,
That's what they look at. So yes, there is a level to this business where that we don't particularly like, which is why a lot of the stuff that we do, particularly on the sports side, like, look, I'm not into the, ridiculous stuff and like, oh, let's aggregate something just to get clicks on, online on Twitter. No, like, I want to try to give a unique perspective and a take on things, which is why we always say this is more nuanced, which is why we try to give you nuance here. But, again, I don't want to belabor this, but Kyrie, I get it, but my dude, we got to go about this differently, because if this is how you're going to start, and we haven't even started preseason yet, if this is already happening now, the whole idea of Brooklyn being like, oh, it doesn't matter what people say on the outside, we only care about what happens in this locker room, all you are doing by doing stuff like this is adding fuel to a potential fire, right? Like, you can squash it easily. You can squash it on your own, right? Like, the more you do stuff like this, it just adds, and it's like, oh, right? And it, again, fuels that 24/7 Twitter, social media, aggregation culture.
Oh, yeah, 100% too. And again, I don't want to drag this out either, but bottom line is, number one, we don't know if he's going to be fined yet for not addressing the media, because like you said, it is in their contract to set aside that time. And especially, the only reason why I just didn't appreciate the way he went about it was just because you played 20 games total with the Nets. You have a new coaching staff. You have a new team. You guys are really like, there's a lot of questions to be answered. It's not like you're on year 8 with this team and you guys just came off a great winning season and you didn't just have surgery in March and you didn't just potentially maybe get married. I know that's not a topic, but I want to know. I just have so many questions. But let's end it on that, because Kyrie's not going to answer them. So
no. He's going to answer that married question to you. That's for sure.
Oh, he definitely ain't going to answer that one. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? But the ring looks nice, honey. I'm so happy for you. If it is that type of ring, if not, it's still stylish and cute. Okay, let's move on. We got to talk about a more serious note too. Karl-Anthony Towns, Cat, love him. He's a great guy. Minnesota Timberwolves, as you guys know, basically the face of that franchise. But I have fears, and so do a lot of other fans, that he may not be the same this season or, potentially ever. I mean, this is bigger than basketball. I'll start with that. He put out a statement. Again, we're talking about media week, so he basically said, he was candid. He lost 7 family members already to COVID-19, including his mother, Jacqueline, and they were super close. And he basically put out just a whole explanation that he used to play basketball because he found it therapeutic. He would look out in the stands. He would see his mother watching him. He played the game for his family, and he said it was therapeutic. And now he basically says that he doesn't know if he can think or view basketball as a remedy of therapy anymore. And that's serious. And I say that because, again, it is bigger than the job. It's bigger than a job. It's bigger than the game. I mean, clearly this has affected him mentally, but to keep it on the topic of basketball, are you worried that his game is going to change entirely, or could this be something that makes him come out and maybe be better? I mean, I really don't know. This is a very unique situation.
Well, it's tough, right? And obviously, thoughts and prayers to Cat and his family. Right. Look, I always say these guys are human, right? And I criticize Cat from a basketball perspective all the time, because he's so talented, and I know he can be so much better you can put up stats and be a winning player on a high-level winning team, and that has not happened yet in his career. That's always my critique of him. But uber talented, one of the most talented guys in this league. This, though, is real life, and I always see these guys are human. Lost 7 family members, as you said, including his mom. I mean, I cannot even imagine. So again, like, to people out there who think this virus is a joke and it's not serious and it's like, oh, whatever, you get it and you're fine. Tell Karl-Anthony Towns that. Tell him that it's not real, that it's some joke, that like, oh, whatever, it ain't no thing. Like, this is a real thing. And in terms of how it affects this game, I think, Jenna, we don't know. Like, John Krasinski from The Athletic, who covers the Timberwolves, he wrote a lengthy piece about it, and I encourage everybody, if you subscribe to The Athletic, go read that, and it's Karl-Anthony Towns and the pain basketball can't fix. And I'm just going to read a little bit of that opening section because I think it's so powerful.
It's a striking title, too.
Yeah, it's great. In the movie, Karl-Anthony Towns is in the gym for hours upon hours, putting up three-pointers until he can't lift his arms, running sprints until he vomits and sweating out the pain. His only breathers would come when he stops to shoot free throws, vowing under his breath to make his mother proud and take out all of his hurt on a league that is not ready for the hell he's about to unleash. In a movie, these last 9 months have been nothing but an extended training montage as Towns loses himself in the game that he loves in an effort to cope with the greater loss at home. The arena is a shelter from never-ending onslaught of trauma for Towns, beginning with his mother Jackie's passing due to complications from COVID-19 in April, and he revealed last week, continuing with the virus-related deaths of 6 other loved ones, including an uncle who died last Thursday. This is not a movie. This is real. And COVID-19 is real. And the despair that has gripped Towns through a summer and a fall of death is soul-crushingly real. That, to me, says all you need to know. We do this thing for sports, where we mythologize it, and we think of it like it's a movie. All right, Cat's going to come out like gangbusters. He's gonna be like 35 and 12 and 4 and
right.
Maybe that might happen, but you're taking away the human emotional part of it, right? And in that quote, you said it yourself. I play this game more because I just love watching my family members seeing me play a game I was very good and successful at. It has always brought a smile for me when I saw my mom at the baseline and in the stands and stuff having a good time watching me play. It's going to be hard to play. It's going to be difficult to say that this is therapy. I don't think this will ever be therapy for me again. But it gives me a chance to relive good memories I had. I guess that's the only therapy I'm going to get from it. It's not going to really help me emotionally or anything. And I think that is so critical right there. We have no idea. Like, just take away basketball. Imagine you're just a regular everyday person and wherever you work, I don't care. You're 20-something years old, 25. Mom dies of COVID. 6 other people in your family die of COVID. How do you think your day-to-day life is going to be on a just straight up regular? Now imagine I'm a public figure. I'm supposed to be the best player on this NBA franchise, leading them to whatever and doing all these things. This is the challenge part for these guys, right? Because he has to grieve in many ways in public, right? On a stage for everybody to see. And grief should be a private thing. If you want to grieve publicly, that should be your choice. If you want to. Yeah. If you don't want to, you shouldn't have to. He's not really going to have that choice, right? Because he's got to play these games. And no doubt when, let's say during a game, emotion overwhelms him. Because if anybody who's dealt with grief, you know that. And he starts tearing up. You know he's going to get asked immediately in the postgame, Kat, were you thinking about your mom? Well, duh. Like, I mean, these are the things that are going to have to happen. He's going to deal with on a regular basis. So I have no idea if he's going to come out and be an all-star, all-NBA. Right. I don't know. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. I mean, look what he said. Basketball is no longer going to be therapy for me. It's just not.
And honestly, I mean, again, we are so about pro player and the human aspect on this podcast. I mean, anybody, including Kat, anybody, no matter what your job is, you are entitled. He is entitled to come back and shit the bed the first night.
100%.
He is. I mean, it is what it is. He is. He's entitled to that. And
you have a terrible season. I mean,
yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, and there should be no, backlash, grief, or from other people. But yeah, I mean, that's my opinion. And you know what though? He did say, it's not that there's no hope for basketball or finding it as my happy place again. He said that he can relive those memories now on the court, and that his mom had so much time with him to see him play. I mean, the fact that she, was able to witness it. So, wishing him the best. I mean, he has mentioned too that D'Angelo Russell was a very supportive friend to him after the passing of his mother, his teammate D'Angelo Russell. So, I mean, again, it could formulate more team chemistry. It could formulate a bond of brotherhood that they've never had. So I think that he'll continue to be candid about it, because he did say that he's looking for answers within COVID and things like that. So, I mean, yeah, that's something that it's unpredictable. You just really don't know. But if there is anyone who's living the nightmare that is COVID-19, it is him. So maybe people to see a public figure like himself go through that, maybe they'll take it more serious. And on another note too, and this is more on my realm of things, but he also is in an extremely public relationship. So he's going to be hit with those questions. He's going to be asked about that. And it's not just anyone, it's Jordan Woods. So
look, there's a lot there. I want to touch on what you said about his friend D'Angelo Russell, and his friend and teammate. He's going to, in many ways, because of the way basketball is set up and the way that an NBA season is designed, your team in many ways, because you see them all the time, right? Practice, games, whatever, they serve sometimes as like a de facto second family. But look, I don't want to Pollyanna-ish or sugarcoat it up. If there's problems on a team, that can't be that. He will have to lean on his teammates. It's good that he has D'Angelo Russell there. The other piece that's important to note, Ricky Rubio's back in Minnesota. Ricky Rubio went through a similar thing of losing his mother early in his career, and he can share that with Kat, and Kat remembers when Ricky went through that. So that's a piece, right, where he can share with Rubio, and they can talk about what it's like. Because in that Krasinski piece, Rubio talks about, look, you're going through this, and sometimes you wake up and you're in some hotel in Sacramento, and you're like, why am I even here? What am I doing? Because, of course, you're human. These are the emotions you have to go through. So he can be able to hopefully lean on Ricky for some sort of like shared commonality, because that's the thing that binds us together as humans, right? Is shared experiences. Even though this is a horrendous experience and you don't want that, Rubio can identify with him on that. His head coach, Ryan Saunders, lost his dad, Flip Saunders, right? Same thing. He can lean on his coach because Ryan understands what it's like to lose your dad and your best friend. Incoming rookie Anthony Edwards lost his mom and his grandma to cancer, right? Like at 14. Look, these are not the kind of experiences that anyone wants to share because they're awful. But there are people around him who, hey, if he snaps for some odd reason, those guys will know, hey, maybe this ain't about anything that has to do with basketball. He's going through it right now. And we can understand that because we've all been there. We can appreciate it. So hopefully the Timberwolves and his teammates will wrap him in love because he needs that right now and help him to grieve and get through this as best as he can.
I know. Same here. I mean, just wishing him all the best. I mean, for his mental health and most importantly. So, hopefully he is continuing to stay strong and just doing what's best for him. You know what I mean? So we got to move on because we got to talk about actually your nice and beautiful term that you came up with here. Same faces, different places, and also new faces in different places. I like it. I love a good rhyme. Like Dr. Seuss is really resonating with me during this time of the year because I watched The Grinch last night. So, it was some good stuff. I know I love a good holiday movie, sucker for it, Hallmark Channel lover. You know how it goes up in these streets. All right, we got to talk about the bombshell trade that we literally heard no rumblings about before it came, and it really just threw me off. Okay, you know what I can't stand? When I'm in line at Starbucks, Jarod, and I'm just trying to have a quiet day, and then I just get hit with a Woj bomb, and the little
jingle, ESPN
little jingle on the damn phone, and I'm like, oh shit, do I look at it? Do I open it? Do I pretend it didn't happen? And then obviously I did. Russell Westbrook headed to DC to the Wizards with Bradley Beal, and in return, John Wall and a 2023 protected first round pick to the Rockets for just I don't even know where to start here, because I would have never thought this would have happened. I would have never predicted it. But like real quick, and we'll get into the X's and O's in a second. But who do you think really won this trade? Like just right off the bat, just looking at it real quick.
I mean, you have to say the Wizards, because we've seen Westbrook play the past couple years. We have not seen John Wall play the last couple years. So just off the strength of we've seen one and we haven't seen another, you have to say the Wizards won the trade. But there's so much more there than that. But off the bat, that's what I'd say, Wizards.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I thought about this was it was shocking because even Bradley Beal came out and said it was shocking and a, quote, tough pill to swallow. So have you heard anything? Was this something that was done without kind of Bradley Beal knowing? I mean, and I only say this not because Bradley Beal is the coach or the freaking end-all be-all, but hello, he is the face of your franchise. Did you confront him and see what was up before you let the dog Westbrook into DC?
So
He ain't just somebody who's quiet. He's like, he's gonna come. He's gonna come and start yelling shit. I don't know.
One of the things that I know from my time covering the league, and fans should take this and kind of understand, when you hear a lot of rumors around a trade that sound bizarre, it's likely not happening, right? Because it's just rumor, conjecture, what have you. The blockbuster trades often go down, and we're like, what? Where'd that come from? Because the agents and teams keep it under wraps when it's blockbuster. When you hear, oh, rumor has it that so-and-so's going here and this has happened, that's all the agent and team parlor game they play to drive up value of their guy, drive down value of someone leaving their team, what have you, whatever it may be, to sort of like play that game of one-upsmanship. Because, again, an agent wants to, or each team feels like they want to have won the trade, and an agent wants to feel like to their client, I got you the best situation, whatever, right? So
Right.
If a lot of people are talking about it, odds are probably not happening, right? But when you're all, it's like, yeah, it came out of nowhere because it was being worked on. They were discussing it. This is what happens. This is why the whole James Harden to Brooklyn thing, I'm like, meh, right? I'm like, the fact that everyone was talking about it, I'm like, okay, that leads me to believe that no. Like, it's just,
Right.
It was just done and put out there by Harden's people, right? To be like, he'd like to leave, and the Rockets being like, well, we're standing pat, we're not moving him anywhere, right? It's all this posturing, and like, that is likely not going to happen, right? Too many people were talking about it, right? For it to be, but this Wizards trade with Houston for Westbrook, look, clearly GM Tommy Shepard in Washington is like, he has a mandate, and that mandate is, we got to make the playoffs. And look, with Westbrook, Bradley Beal, rookie Denny Avila, Thomas Bryant, and Bertans, look, they're going to compete for some kind of playoff seed, 8, 7, somewhere in that range. Because the one thing you do know about Westbrook is, and look, I have my critiques of his game, as do a lot of us, he plays hard. And he will compete and bust his ass every night. And I think having someone like that next to Bradley, not that John Wall wasn't, but John Wall was hurt the past 2 years. Having someone like that, the way Russ is going to reinvigorate Bradley. And then, hey, because Bradley's borderline All-NBA, right? And Russ is All-NBA. So that's an All-NBA backcourt. That's a nice start, right? And it makes them more exciting, and it gets the Wizard fan base excited about this team.
Exactly, 100%. Because even when John Wall was healthy before the Achilles, I can vividly remember you and I talking on this podcast about, is it over with the John Wall Beal show? Is it done? Should we move on? What can be fixed in DC to make this move a little bit faster? And I will say, and this is totally my opinion, it is a separate conversation for another time, but Bradley Beal, and I'm putting it on the record right now, is the most snubbed player in the NBA. There it is. There it is. Y'all, your girl said it.
Listen,
that's it. Come for me. I'm ready.
That's not a poor take. Bradley's excellent. Playing in DC on that team the past couple of years didn't help. But he's beyond good. And look, again, Tommy Shepard's goal is to make the playoffs this year. GM of the Wizards, that they want to get back to the playoffs in DC. I think the East, and this is not our preview show. We'll have our preview show coming out in a couple of weeks, but the East is going to be challenging this year. Look, Milwaukee's still going to be good. Miami are the defending Eastern Conference champs. Boston's still very good. That's 3 teams I mentioned already. Oh, let's not forget, there's some excitement happening in Brooklyn. That's 4 teams. I mean, right? It's already 4 teams I've mentioned. And then we start talking about Indiana, right? And these other squads. So it's like, I didn't even mention Philadelphia, Indiana, Philadelphia, right? I mean, we are already at 6 teams right there, right? So,
oh yeah.
I mean, and now because we're gonna have the play-in spot, right? So once you finish in the top 10, you're gonna have a play-in. I feel confident enough to say that the Wizards will finish somewhere inside the top 10, right? So at a minimum, they should make the play-in level at 10, and then we'll see what happens there. But I think the team will be good because I think Orlando might take a step back, right? So that could be a spot for them. But we'll see. It's just a lot's happening, I think. And on the Houston side of it, look, I don't know what you're getting with John Wall. We haven't seen him play. Now, again, if you want to go by what other players, because, the guys have been playing, pick up with each other, getting ready for the season. John Wall played with KD and Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie, and KD said, shit, looks like John Wall to me, right? Now, players aren't always the best judge of that sort of thing, right? Like,
Right.
But if that's to be believed, then hey, it looks like he'll be back, and he'll be, even if he's 80% of himself, that's still a very good basketball player who's got a lot of talent. So if you're Houston, look, it's clear what Houston's doing, right? Owner Tillman Fertitta is out here not trying to spend money on luxury tax, right? Like that's clearly what's going on down there. They're going to be in some kind of rebuilding mode. First year head coach Paul Silas, or Steven Silas, excuse me. Good luck, my guy. Good luck with what's going on down there.
It's super interesting. I definitely agree with you that the trade was won by the Wizards because we just haven't seen John Wall. Unfortunately, don't get me wrong. I have no doubt in my mind that John Wall is near his old self. I mean, Achilles is tough. You probably will never be the same, but I think he's pretty much, up to par, we'll say. But again, we'll have to see when the season starts. But do you think, and this could be a wild thought, but this is what came to my mind. So you get a new point guard who you send to Houston, but you already have a solid point guard in James Harden. So to me, are you getting your new point guard because your other one clearly doesn't want to be here? And you're trying to prepare for his exit or his absence? I don't understand how Wall fits. I would have never sent Wall there or would have guessed to send Wall there. It just wouldn't have crossed my mind because I have James Harden. You don't just have some scrub. you have James Harden.
Yeah, basketball-wise, it's an odd fit, right? I mean, it's similar to when Westbrook was there, right? Westbrook was used to having the ball in his hands, as was Chris Paul when he went there. But when you go to Houston, James Harden has the ball in his hands. Now, Steven Silas is probably going to do what D'Antoni did before him, right? Which is stagger, right? So when one's out, the other one has the ball in their hands. And then, look, they're going to have to get some motion into the offense. And James Harden's going to have to do some off-ball stuff, which he has been reluctant to do since he's been there. And John Wall will have to do some off-ball stuff, right? It's an odd fit. I don't know what it's going to be like. Again, and I'm not saying that means that James Harden is necessarily long for Houston, right? Like, he might get moved. Possibly. Where? I don't know. We shall see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. Either way, it's obvious that the Wizards are going for a playoff push because general manager Tommy Shepard, he was saying how Westbrook, he said that trading Wall was the hardest thing he's ever had to do in like 3 decades. But Westbrook, he said, quote, will help us hit our stride a little quicker than Wall, who hasn't obviously played since Christmas 2018, which, hey, fair, totally fair, but clear that they're making a playoff push and they need somebody to really do it quicker. I don't know. I just wonder how John Wall feels about that a little bit. I mean, Bradley Beal said they had an emotional conversation, so I would have loved to be a little fly on the wall in that room, you know what I'm saying? So, hey, it is what it is. But we shall see what happens there. A lot of guys that we have to see making some debuts after injury, which is we'll probably highlight more on that in our predictions podcast. So I'll save my opinions for then, because we got to move on to more of my opinions about the Lakers. The Lakers.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. So
Anyway, thanks for listening to the song, everybody. Anyway, let's talk about the Lakers here, all right? The defending champs have re-upped on their biggest superstars, LeBron James and AD. You guys saw the news. LeBron got 2 years, $85 million max. The King collected his money. And did you see the breakdown of that?
Yeah, listen.
That money?
I mean, it's
Homeboy's making like $1K a minute.
I mean, and with all that, he's still underpaid, right? Like when you think about the revenue he actually generates, he's still actually underpaid, which is surprising.
Oh, God. And that's not even counting the tequila, the car map, the goddamn everything that he's got going on. Dang.
Yes, his NBA contract, and that's just a fact about most NBA superstars, right? The money that they actually generate pales into comparison with what their actual NBA contract is. And yes, I understand you out there who don't make hundreds of millions of dollars are like, what are you talking about? Like, listen, it's economics, people. Go read a book. Like, it's not, come on, not that difficult to understand how the money they generate is not on par with what they actually generate from their NBA salaries. But look, the Lakers, and AD re-upped. He signed his max extension, 5 years, $190 million. Look, that's the most important piece, right? Is that LeBron and Anthony Davis are coming back, right? I mean, that was never in doubt. What's happening in LA is this the seeds of a little mini dynasty happening here, right? With these guys locked up, can LeBron, and he's getting older, but can LeBron and AD, rattle off the next 2 titles, or 1 out of the next 2? Or 2 out of the next 4? Well, maybe, right? Maybe they can. And I think that's their goal, right? Is to maximize as many chips as they can with LeBron and AD under contract. The big thing for the Lakers, what they did in this, free agency period in their offseason, right? They switched out some guys, right? Marc Gasol is there. Montrezl Harrell came over from the Clippers. Wes Matthews, right? Dwight Howard gone. They moved on from some guys. And the question is, Rondo's gone. Like, is that going to help them come postseason time? Because postseason is what matters to this team, right? Regular season is what it is. But when it comes time to the postseason, do the Lakers have enough guys that are going to do what is necessary to help them win another championship? We know what LeBron and AD are, right? And what they're going to do. But as you know, winning titles, you need those little extra pieces from those role guys. And is this version of their role guys better than Danny Green, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, Rajon Rondo, right? We'll see if Wes Matthews, Trez, Gasol, and all them are better. They did retain KCP, which is huge. Obviously, Alex Caruso is back as well, is still there. So those pieces matter. But again, will Trez, Wes, and Mark, will that be better than Dwight, JaVale, Rondo, Danny Green? We'll see.
Well, that's an incredibly good question, because I feel like the Lakers retained a lot of defense, a lot of big, tough guys, but did they get enough shooting? I don't like the absence that they now have in Rondo's place, especially for the postseason, because not only is he a leader, but he can get things done. Put this kid on the floor I call him a kid, he's a veteran. Put this guy on the floor for a few minutes and he's already got you up.
No doubt.
So that's a huge loss for me. I wish they didn't get rid of Rondo, but hey, I mean, it is what it is, but I think they got more defense than they did offense. Do you think it's enough? Do they have enough shooters? Yes, they retain KCP, Jared Dudley they have, but is it enough on the shooting end, on the offensive end?
You know what's interesting? Last offseason, I looked at the Lakers and I was like, this team doesn't have enough shooting. I was like, I don't love it. Like, guess what? It was fine. It was enough to win the title, right? Caruso hit enough shots. KCP hit enough shots. Rondo, who's not a great shooter, hit enough shots, right? So the question is, will Wes Matthews hit enough shots? Will KCP, again, replicate his performance? Will Caruso hit enough shots? We'll see, right? Montrez is not a three-point shooter. Marc Gasol Marc Gasol is such an interesting player. Like, he can shoot threes. Sometimes he just decides, I don't feel like shooting today. Like, I mean, well, we can't really be doing that, Mark, if this is what the goal is going to be. So we shall see. It is interesting. I know Danny Green got a lot of grief because he missed a wide open three last year in the bubble. But look, Danny Green's a good shooter. So look, they have LeBron and AD, and ultimately, right, that is what's going to trump most things. But will those role guys be able to do enough? And will LeBron and AD be able to elevate those guys to do just enough? I mean, there's no doubt in my mind they're at a minimum a conference finalist again, right? They're that good, barring injury or something crazy. Yeah. But they're that 100%. Good. They're that good. But, we'll see. We'll see how it develops over the year.
100%. Real quick note here, too, about LeBron's contract that everybody was talking about. It's up in 2023. That's when Bronny's eligible for the league. Obviously, he's always said he wanted to play with Bronny. So that's an interesting thing. And also, what was it about the contract? There's no re-sign with his contract.
Yes.
So you just come find me in 2 years, Jarod, and you check every single local hospital there is out there, honey, because you know how it goes in these streets.
The idea about Bronny, I will say this. Look, and everyone, that's the story. Okay, yes, we see the photo. For those of you that aren't watching on video, Jenna just held up the GQ photo of LeBron. Look, everyone loves the story of, he's going to play with Bronny. That's assuming Bronny makes the NBA. We don't know that. Like, I don't want to be a bubble buster, but
I love a good narrative.
But we don't, right? That's what it is, the narrative. We don't know if he's good enough to make the NBA. We have no idea, right? So let's pump the brakes on all that. We'll see what happens in 2023. But right now, Lakers are looking good. This whole offseason has been super fast, super condensed. I do, we will, as you said, we'll get to our previews of each conference and each team, and we'll go down because there's a lot of same faces in different places. What's going on in Brooklyn, right? The Miami Heat, what's going on with the Clippers. But I do kind of want to focus on the Clippers, for instance, for a little bit as we wrap here, because, the drama that came out of Clipperland after blowing that 3-1 lead in the playoffs to the Denver Nuggets. So an article came out from the Clippers beat writer Jovan Buha, and it basically talked about how certain players on the Clippers, those players being Pat Bev, Lou Will, Montrezl Harrell, who's now on the Lakers, felt about the preferential treatment that Kawhi and Paul George were getting from the Clippers. Kawhi having his own private room to stretch in before games, the team allowing him to live in San Diego, which often made him late for team flights, which would, of course, hold up the plane. Star players like Kawhi and Paul George dictating when and if the players were going to have practice or not. I mean, look, I will say this. On every NBA team, the superstar player calls the shots in that way, right? LeBron has special stuff with the Lakers. KD and Kyrie got special stuff in Brooklyn. Like, that's how it goes, right? The star players get special things. Now, the question is, how do you want to spend your allotted star capital? And clearly, the way in which Kawhi and Paul George did not sit well with those guys. Particularly more so, I feel like it was the Paul George situation. Because Paul George was treated as though he was someone on the Kawhi Leonard level. And I think guys like Lou Will, Pat Bev, and Montrez were cool with someone like Kawhi getting that level of treatment. Because Kawhi, after all, at the time, reigning finals MVP, two-time champ, two-time finals MVP, right? So they get it. On a pecking order, he's above us. We get that. They're out here looking at Paul George like, oh, my man, who are you? You ain't done shit. Like, you ain't no finals MVP. Why do you get to do what you want to do? What's that all about? And I think that is where the contention was coming from.
Well, I think he also got that treatment too because it was Kawhi who basically said, bring Paul George here. I want Paul George here. So that kind of, I don't know if it was his bargaining chip, if that was his end all be all or whatever it was. And again, we don't know these things still, but I think that's why that treatment kind of spilled over to Paul George. And again, PG said he went through some mental health things last season and things upon that nature, but to have such glaring chemistry issues at this point, thinking of the human aspect of it again, they have to be feeling some type of way, more on the embarrassing side a little bit, because you go through that type of thing and it's kind of like people know your business. It's gossip. It is what it is. Chemistry issues is gossip. And then you have the guys who've been on the Clippers who busted their ass forever, Lou Williams, everyone. And then you have this kind of come in. People are human. Hey, I'd be pissed.
Yeah. So and again, one of the challenges for Kawhi is he is not naturally built the way like LeBron James is, right? No. LeBron is a natural all right, let me do some team dinners, let me do some stuff to get our guys together, and right, he's a gregarious, outgoing guy. That's how LeBron. Kawhi isn't like that, right? Kawhi's just not. If we're all out, let's say us two of the people, and Kawhi isn't going to be the one in that group of five to be like, oh hey, and start. That's not. He doesn't do that. That isn't his jam. Now there is more than one way to lead. I want to be clear about that, but on a team that is trying to figure out its chemistry and get stuff together, because again, you need that connectivity to win a championship, right? Guys have to trust and believe in one another. There has to be some kind of way to do that. Now, and the reason why I brought up not everybody did that. Kobe Bryant wasn't a guys come to my house for dinner. He wasn't doing that shit, right? But he managed to lead people, right? There are different ways in which it can be done. But what I think Kawhi is finding out is look, there have to be ways in which I do different things to get these guys to feel again like we're all a part of this. We're in this together. And before the bubble started, right when the season shut down and guys started to work out to keep themselves in shape, Kawhi did work out with those guys, with Pat and Lou Will, etc., and came up to LA a bunch, brought them down to San Diego where he lives to get more of that camaraderie going. I do think in many ways the stoppage kind of hurt the Clippers in that way, because I think as a team they were starting to build some chemistry and they were playing well. And then when it stopped again, they didn't have the requisite years of that foundation to come back to. It was new. It was newly starting to form. Those roots hadn't taken shape yet. But that blowing that 3-1 lead, that is part of roots taking shape, right? That's going to be a shared pain. We talked about it with Kat and how he has teammates who's gone through hardships, losing parents like he has. That shared pain is something that all those Clippers can now they've experienced together. They all know what it feels like together. So that's something they can build on to hopefully move themselves in the right direction. Because look, this team is still excellent, right? They still were up 3-1 and should have won that series and should have faced the Lakers in the conference finals. So they're still excellent. And again, we'll talk about them more when we get to our conference previews. But I like what they've done.
Oh, same. And the thing is, you make such a great point when you say that shared experience of losing and going through that, like I said too, embarrassment, that adversity, that just, they were roasted. From anyone and everyone, rightfully so. And Kawhi during media week said that doesn't stick with him and things of that nature, and that he's focused on moving forward. And Paul George even reflected on it and said he wasn't himself last year, and that loss and that series is unacceptable to him and things like that. But one thing that the guys, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, said during media day was that they want the team to focus on more of a winning attitude, have a winning environment. There was something that Kawhi Leonard said, that stuck with me. He said, quote, "A coach can't put a battery pack on your back and tell you to play harder to go win games. You have to have the mindset." So right now, to me, they're focused on creating that mentality and that mindset. So however way they go about it, I'm unsure of. But it seems like they're trying to work more on the internal issues at this point. Because you just said this team is great. The skill is there. It's a matter of, okay, let's come together and be more of an actual team. I don't know if it was laziness. I don't know what it was.
No, I don't think it was
when
laziness.
they say winning mindset, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think it was laziness. I think it's, what I've talked about before on this, which is no matter with a regular human being out in the street versus an athlete, it doesn't matter. When stress is placed upon us, we all revert back to what we are comfortable and familiar with, right? That's how we all operate, right? Mm-hmm. This team did not have enough of the shared and combined reps to pull and draw from to say, guys, it's okay. Rally for someone to get in there and say, we've been here. All good. There was right. Everyone retreated inward and went solo. No, this is a team. We must coalesce together and get over this. Right. The stress of, all right, we're up 3-1. We blew that game. We'll get the next one. No, they could never catch it because they didn't the trust wasn't there. Right. Because it hadn't been built up. And again, you only get that over time and through reps. And so the little things about, oh yeah, that snuck and crept into their minds. Yeah, that time that Paul didn't go to practice that day, we could have used, right? May not have been in their conscious mind, but in their subconscious mind, it was probably there. And those things led to the fissures, the fraction, and then again, blowing that 3-1 lead.
Yeah, and I agree too. And in the beginning, you're only human. I mean, I feel like we've all been through this situation in a certain way, one way or another, whether it's work or within your group of friends. I hope my friends don't listen to this podcast episode just because I feel like I recently went through that with my girlfriends too, about me, coming to all of the events with my friends, but not being as present or texting because I'm working or I have a different schedule. So it's like they were all pissed because you think that you could come do this, but you ain't talking about, me tying my shoe last week. And I'm like, bro, I didn't have the time. Like, again, it's putting in the effort. You got to do what you got to do. But hey, we got to talk about something else quick because I was minding my own business last week at work, chilling.
Well, I do believe you put this into a shared group chat we are in.
I did. I put this, I texted Gabby, our girl Kicks and Shit show with Jarod.
No doubt.
Every Monday, right?
Every Monday. New episode comes out on Mondays, yep.
I put this in a group chat because I could not believe my eyes. Again, sitting here, minding my own business, trying to lay low. December's usually my slow season. Now the NBA's back. All this shit's going on. And I see, whoop, 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 alert. I get a notification that the Jimmy Butler, owner of, what's it called? Big Face Coffee?
Big Face Coffee, yes.
Big Face Coffee. You might know him as the Eastern Conference champ on the Miami Heat, no big deal or nothing down here. Sometimes rocks a mustache. I don't know, some little guy going around Miami. That he is dating Selena Gomez. The Selena Gomez. Lose You to Love Me. Justin Bieber's ex-girlfriend, star of some freaking movie that I can't remember because it's probably not that good. But no offense, love you, Sal. Wizards of Waverly Place. Anyway, this one's interesting, though, because you guys all know, if you don't know, if you're not a listener of the pod, which, rude, I work in entertainment celebrity. So dating news usually comes out, a rumor, but the rumor has like a photo behind it or like a video. So, I'm clicking all the links. There's no photo. There's no video. I'm like, who the hell is making this shit up? Because this is the last thing I would have saw coming. I mean, like, let's be serious. That's like me covering tennis. I don't do that shit. What the hell? Like, I don't know how to do that. So, Jarod, people online were just not making up, but it was just gossip online, but it had no root. There was no photo, nothing. Okay? So this is in mid-November, right?
Yep.
And then all the media outlets jump on it. Boop, 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 boop. December 2nd, E! News confirms that they've been out on some dates. Hollywood Life, whoop, whoop, yours truly,
that's right.
Says that they've been hanging out, enjoying themselves, But again, no photos. Neither of them has addressed it. All we know is that they went out on a few dates and they're apparently getting to know each other, canoodling a little bit. Probably eating some oysters at fucking Scarpetta in goddamn New York City or some shit, where all the big faces go and whatnot. But oh my God.
So here's my question. What is it about these two particularly that have everybody so like flummoxed, up in arms, curious, like what? Like shocked, surprised? Because, you know, when you are an athlete or a celebrity entertainer, when any of them get together, that's not surprising to me because they travel in similar circles, right? Like it's very rare that you find people of their caliber dating quote unquote civilians or regular people, right? Not because they wouldn't like a regular person, but they don't really hang around regular people on that, right? Like they mostly hang around other famous people because of what their jobs are, right?
Yeah.
And I just what is it about these two? Like, do they look weird together? Like, what is it that gets everybody? It's got everybody so like.
Okay. You know what, real quick, because I know we don't got a ton of time, but let me tell you something. I like Selena Gomez, don't get me wrong.
There's
I
a butt
do.
coming.
But
There's a butt coming.
right? She's just a little unparticular. Like her music is great, but she's not out here on, winning what's it
Grammys?
called Grammys and
Mhm.
shit. And her movies are great too, but she's not out here winning Oscars or nothing. But I can't pinpoint, and this is probably what pisses me off the most. I can't pinpoint her type. So, like her ex is Justin Bieber, then she dated The Weeknd, and hey, girlfriend, I love everybody you're going for, but I don't know what the hell your goddamn type is. But I mean, hey, Jimmy Butler,
Well,
some of the girls out there would say he's nice. I have no opinion because I'm a journalist. But
The Weeknd and Jimmy Butler at one point had similar hair, maybe like, well, not similar hair, but like
Ooh.
crazy hair, right? Could be it.
Well, here's what throws me off a little bit. Okay, what they have in common, they're both super, super private about their personal lives.
Mhm.
Jimmy Butler, as we know, and as some of the public may know,
Mhm.
welcomed a baby girl with his ex-girlfriend. To be honest with you, I don't even know her name because that's how private this shit is.
Mhm.
Welcomed a baby girl last year, missed some games for the birth of his baby girl, but real hush-hush, real quiet. And everybody knows that Jimmy is a business, all about the business kind of guy. I'm here for work. This ain't a work trip. That famous quote, love it. But they're both super private. However, Jimmy's very, very out there and like outspoken, and I don't know. It just I don't see it. And not for any in particular reason, but I just don't see it.
I think that's the thing. I think for a lot of people, that's where all like the what is coming from, because I think it's jarring to people because like, and I think it's probably because somehow for some people they tend to like infantilize Selena Gomez, like she's like, oh, this little small like whatever, like she's a child, but
Right.
I mean she's not. What is she, like in her mid to late 20s, somewhere around there, right? Like
Yeah,
I mean,
she's 28.
yeah, I
She
mean
doesn't usually date ball players either.
and this is her first baller, right? So that's the other thing that's got people like, oh, what does she know about the NBA? How did But again, I think, look, more power to them. This is what they're doing. We're waiting to find out. So listen, you got to get your sources on the ground and get some picks, snap it up, see if you can get some.
Yeah.
Now he's training camps down, and they're trying to go back to the NBA championship and hopefully win it this season. So. Maybe I was gonna say maybe we'll see Selena Gomez courtside. We ain't gonna see nobody courtside because there ain't gonna be no fans in the building.
Exactly. And you know what? I could see this fizzling out a little bit just because the season's coming. Jimmy's got to stick to the grid, stick to the game, but you never know. You really don't know. But here's a teaser for next episode, Jarod. Some more coming next episode, even though it's going to be a long one for our season preview. I got a little tea about Larsa Pippen and Malik Beasley.
Ooh, you got tea. Listen, first of all, Larsa Pippen, like, what is going on with homegirl?
Yo, Larsa, honey, I love you. Very good friend to Hollywood life. Love her. Have not a bad word to say about her, but Larsa, what are we doing? What are you doing?
Did you see that her son apparently not happy that mom is out hanging, shall we say, with people his age? Doesn't really make him feel so good.
Well, Malik was married at the time too. I mean, those docs are probably fresh and filed in the court right now. I'm getting dicey out here in these streets.
And Larsa has a unique nickname that you all should go look up. We ain't gonna say it on this show, but let's just look it up.
Oh, no.
Let's just say it rhymes with Scottie Pippen, and I'll leave it at that.
Love you, Scotty. Stay strong, baby.
Damn, poor Scotty.
Oh man, he's probably on the jump, just trying to fucking analyze shit, and then this happens, and he's like, Larsa, come on, man. Come on, you're hopping in the league now. Dang, out here. Like, you see that TikTok that was going on about, like, Kendall and Kylie, and it was like, do you go for ballers or rappers? And, of course, Kendall went to the ballers, and Kylie went to the rappers. Like, Larsa, get over to the rappers, girl. Get over it. Your son's trying to make it in the league. Like, what you doing? That's all. That's it, girl. But, I mean, other than that, look, damn. The tea's too hot out here in these streets, honey. But set them up, though, because we got a special episode coming.
We do.
December. That's it. Shit's serious.
It is serious, guys. Our next couple episodes, we'll do our Eastern Conference preview and then our Western Conference preview, right? So it'll be part 1, part 2, and then we'll do our special Christmas Day games preview. We know the 5 games that are going to be played. We'll pick our winners and losers. And yeah, December 22nd, season is here. So as always, you guys know where to find us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, at 7footers Pod on Twitter, at 7footers Podcast on Instagram, at JS Hector, at Jenna Lemoncelli. We'll see you next time. Peace.
See ya.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what's a man gonna do? Chevy told me come